let's do it. Okay, cool. Hey guys, you are watching the Groove Zone's Convos and listening to us on X Vibe Radio here on the Groove Zone Network. And this is DJ D Phoenix coming to you from Western Washington this morning. Hanging out with me, I've got my cohort, DJ Fury, also known as Stormy. Hola.
Hello.
And I'm sorry, but I just said this to him a couple minutes ago, but I'm really giddy today because of the fact that, like, he was in one of my favorite all-time Manchester bands from back in the day. But what an amazing career. I'd like to introduce you guys to KAV SANDHU of Blitz Vega. KAV.
How's it going, guys?
How are you?
I'm good. You know, just in the middle of recording at the moment. So finishing off some tracks that I recorded with Andy for Blitz Vega that didn't feature on the album. So just, working on that stuff and getting it ready for release in the next few months.
Okay. You know, looking over your career, you don't like music at all, do you? You have had your fingers in so many projects for such a long period of time. I mean, first of all, let me ask, KAV, how old were you when you got started?
I would have been like 12, 13.
I was gonna say, yeah, you had to have been, because like you have been at this for a while. Producer, DJ, musician, you know, right? Wow. Gosh, and I've got a million and one questions, you know. Actually, though, let's start off with this because I have a tendency to overtalk her. So let me do this. Stormy, would you like to ask a question? Go for it.
I don't have a question yet.
I
don't know. Do you like the weather in LA better than not LA?
You know what? It's raining in LA at the moment, so it feels like England. Yeah. So well, it's raining where I am anyway. So yeah. So well, it was a few minutes ago anyway. I kind of. I suppose I do sometimes. It's more to do with the kind of feel of the people I work with musically, really here. That's kind of why I like it. Like the city.
Yeah. Have you ever toured or visited the Pacific Northwest, like the Seattle area?
So I played in Seattle and Vancouver as well. So over the years, quite a while ago now. It would have been I think the last time I played in Seattle would have been 2008, I think, something like that.
Wow. Well, oh wow. So it's been okay. Well, just to let you know, the next time if you ever get a chance to play Seattle again, knock on our door because we'd love to come see you.
So, that would be amazing. I'd love to. I really want to get a chance to, you know, hopefully we can, you know, come over there and play. It'd be, you know, it would be amazing if we can. But it's just been, we just haven't really been playing shows recently. We're just getting to grips with, you know, getting the band ready to play live without Andy. So that's kind of what we've been focused on, and we've played a few UK shows. So we're hoping later this year, early next year, we'll take the band on the road.
Awesome. So for our listeners that may not be familiar with KAV currently, or yet, I should say, KAV is one half of the band Blitz Vega. And it is KAV as well as the late Andy Rourke. And Andy Rourke being a member of the Smiths, one of the most iconic 80s groups of all time. And Andy just passed not all that long ago. And KAV has continued on with the band and has just, I don't know how much Andy got a chance to personally be part of, but what you guys had put out so far. And so now I'm totally stoked by the fact that you say that you're working on new things that didn't make it onto the album. Because this album is amazing. I mean, there's so many elements of different styles and, like, you know, sounds and stuff. You know, you two coming together for this is just like, it's unfortunate that you're not going to be able, you know, the physical form to be able to see it in that way. But, you know, just knowing that, like, you're carrying on his legacy, it's like, this is an incredible album and on so many levels. So, yeah. And maybe what I'm saying, maybe that'll trigger something in Stormy. I've got to say, and I wanted to bring this up, Pass the Gun, probably my favorite. Totally my favorite. What's kind of the story behind, because there's some stories behind some of these tracks. So what was the inspiration? What was the deal with that one?
Pass the Gun was actually probably one of the first songs I wrote when I was a kid.
No way.
Yeah,
Really?
so we were really into so many different styles of music growing up in my hometown, which was a town called Leicester in the middle of England, and we used to, go out to see bands and then go to clubs and watch DJs all night. And, we were listening to dance music, different forms of dance music, whether it was, and also some hip hop stuff, but also rock and roll, grunge, everything. And we didn't really feel any limitations when it came to music. And it was just a really, I suppose, exciting time. When you're a kid, you're that age, you're just taking in all this amazing information. And it's exciting, and music's just incredible, and especially then anyway. And so I remember we played with this band called Space Monkeys, who actually we recently played with again in Manchester.
I love Space Monkeys.
Oh, you do? Wow, that's amazing.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Ready for the Rampage is one of my answers. And Sugarcane. I love Sugarcane.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, they literally reformed recently, and we just supported them in Manchester at their 30th anniversary show, like 2 weeks ago. So yeah. So we played with them.
And I've been trying to get a hold of them. Gosh. Anyway,
I'll put you in touch with Rich, the singer. He's an absolute, such a great guy.
Awesome.
But
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, Andy. I apologize.
No. Well, so we supported this band. Well, obviously, you know them. So we played with them at a venue called the Charlotte in Leicester, and they just blew our minds. The way they were using sort of the decks with kind of with that kind of British indie Manchester sound, and it was just absolutely mind blowing. So. That really influenced me personally, and then I remember we came out of this club. There was this house club called Emporium, which is a big super club in the middle of England, and we came out of there at like 7 a.m. in the morning, as we used to, and ended up in this we used to rehearse on top of this old printing shop. It was like this factory, and we just brought all these people from the club back. There was about 30 people just piled into this printers kind of factory, and we set up and we just started playing. And at the time there was this DJ who was like a drum and bass DJ, and he was like really into his scratching and stuff, and he was also a guitarist. So he just put that Good Groove record on and just started scratching. Shall we do it again? Yeah. Shall we do it again? And so the Derek B record, and basically then I just started playing the riff, and then the band came in, and because of the type of people who were in the place at the time, I just started singing these lyrics, these pictures I had in my mind, and then the song just came together, and it was just suddenly a song. So we recorded that song for my first band, and then it never really saw the light of day. So people would say to me for years, "Oh, you should record that song. You should record that song." And I remember like Bonehead from Oasis had mentioned it to me like back in 2016 or 15 or something. He was out in LA and he was guesting on guitar for me for my solo stuff, and he said, "Oh, you should really bring that track back. That was a great track." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And then one of the guys from Kasabian also kind of said it to me at the same time. He said, you know, that song you recorded, you know, you should really re-record that. I was like, oh, cool, you know, kind of just thinking about it. And then we started Blitz Vega, and one of the first things Andy Rourke said to me was, oh, you know, we should do a version of that song. So then we recorded it, and it finally saw the light of day. And then we got Z-Trip, you know, who I'm a huge fan of and have been for years. And so Z-Trip came in to the studio in LA and just put his parts down and co-produced it with us and with Will Kennedy, who we work with over here. And then the song came together and it ended up as the last song on the album.
I'm totally blown away, honestly, KAV. The artists that you've worked with, just all of it. What a fun, amazing career. I mean, this is like, for so many people, it has to be like a dream come true, I would imagine.
It was like, I suppose the journey with that song was kind of like, it's funny. It's kind of like just something that took so, it was written like 25 years ago or whatever, and it finally saw the light of day in 2024. You know, but I think that's the great thing about music. If you're not, and I've never felt restricted for long parts of whatever this career is. If it's a career or whatever it is, it's just love for creating something that feels natural, and you just feel it, and then you record it, and then it comes out or whatever. I don't know how to sort of really describe it in words. It's just something that I just love to do, and don't really overthink it too much.
Right. Well, and you know, the cool thing too is that you've done like the production end of it. You've also done the actual like songwriting part of it and the performing of it. So, you know, it's like you're a little bit full circle on that. You know what I've been finding out, Stormy, is that when we're doing these interviews, like our time is running out so much quicker than what I expect it to, because I know we're set for an hour. So KAV, like I said, okay, I think, let's see, I had 1,000,001 questions. We're down.
Sorry, I do go on. I can talk. I can take a while to answer one question, so I apologize.
No, not at all, because it's your show. And I was going to say, now that we've made the initial contact, the door is always open to you at any point down the road to come back in and see us again, anytime. So just know that. Stormy, have you thought of anything for him?
Hi, sweetie. Just, you had brought up just the different genres and everything that sort of end up in this, particularly in Blitz Vega. And in listening to it, I was kind of blown away myself, because it didn't just take me through like genres or, you know, techniques or styles. It took me through eras of my life, like decade by decade by decade. And it was so weird how it all meshed together so well. I was really impressed with that. My favorite song is Disconnected, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, it was kind of like, I suppose when we started the band, we didn't have a band at first. We just went into the studio, and Andy was actually coming over. He was based in New York, so he came over, and he was actually guesting on a song that I'd wrote that we were going to release, possibly I was going to release as a solo track. And then we had so much fun in that recording session. Everything just flowed naturally that he suggested, you know, we should start a band. And then when we didn't really talk about the style of music we were going to make. We wanted to go back to making music the way you would when you first get into music, you know, just with no limitations, just enjoying it, playing whatever comes directly from, you know, your heart or, you know, your creative zone or whatever it is, without trying to fit into anything or You know, I mean, Andy's thing was, let's make music for ourselves, music that we want to listen to, and then see where it takes us. And I think that kind of explains that whole idea of mishmashing different decades and influences or whatever, because we were just, you know, dipping deep into ourselves of what we were into, what influenced us, and what we like listening to, you know, without thinking about it or going, oh, this song should sound like this, or this. We just would record it, would be a bass line and then, you know, some drums and then maybe a guitar part, or sometimes I'd have some lyrics and we'd come in and we would just press record and, you know, just go with it.
I love that. Because yeah, that's such a basic, or yeah, that is. It's such a basic bottom line way to approach it. And the thing is that you're going to be categorized by your listeners no matter what. They'll figure out what category, you know, you fit into in their music collection. But when you keep yourself open like that, I think that it's good in so many ways, and especially the fact that, like, when you can't categorize something, you're able to cross into all those different genres simultaneously. And it's like, and I think that what that does is it also creates a larger audience for you on, you know, in the long run. If your music is, you know, and there's a million examples that I could use, but I'm glad she brought that up, because honestly, that's what I was thinking too. As you're listening to the tracks off the album and or watching the videos even, it's really cohesive, but it does hit all those different areas. And it's just like, it's such a great, and I hate to use the word mashup, I'll just say blending of you know, of different sounds and techniques and qualities and all that. And it's just like, it's a great trip from beginning to end.
Oh, thanks. I think it's like, also, you know, just feeling the feeling of being liberated, you know, is the freedom to just go with something without thinking about it and just expressing yourself is something, I suppose, as a musician personally, I've probably been searching for since the first time I sort of picked a guitar up or, you know, played in a band. And Andy had this amazing ability to be able to allow you to do that. You know, it wasn't like he was, you know, feeling like he's allowing you to do that, but he had this really calming impact on me, where he could give you the confidence to just try and do anything and go with anything without sort of trying to, you know, impress anyone. You know, those studio sessions were very relaxed and just enjoyable, and it really did feel, for the first time, I mean, yeah, I've been working in music for so long, but it's the first album that I was really, or the project that I've been a part of, where I truly felt completely at home and natural within that environment. It was the greatest experience musically of my life personally, and to work with him and everyone else who was involved, you know, it was just, the vibe was just, it was incredible. And obviously Andy was suffering towards the end of the sessions, and you would think that would make it difficult, but again, he had this, he didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to make it a thing. That's why people didn't know about it publicly, that he was unwell. And, you know, he just wanted to play and record and make music no matter what. And you know, he would be going through something, whether it was some appointment or, you know, whatever he was going through, dealing with his illness in New York. And he would be straight on a plane, you know, soon after that, and in the studio with me in LA, you know, within days, and then we'd lock ourselves away in the studio for days on end, and you know, it wouldn't even come up. It was just kind of something that he just, that's all he wanted to do. If he had a priority in his life, it was just, he just wanted to make music. That's what he was here for, and that kind of you know, it impacted me a lot, and especially towards the end of the project, when you're trying to, when you know something, you don't want to face up to something, but you know suddenly that maybe there is a time limit to what we're doing, and then when you finally start thinking that, and that didn't really hit me until 2023, which is a few months before he passed. But when I was going back and forth from LA to New York and seeing him as he was having his treatment in hospital, you know, we would talk. He wasn't able to come to the studio, so we would sit and talk about the music. I would play him the tracks, the mixes through headphones and stuff, and then he would like you know, give me his notes and stuff, and then I would go straight back to the studio and try to, you know, put that into practice and you know, work on stuff with Will, our producer, and try to you know, stick to his vision on what he wanted, and that's what we were trying to do. So we managed to get, you know, some stuff out before he passed, but you know, his wishes were so clear that he wanted the album to be released because he was so proud of it, and he felt so like, you know, just yeah, I mean, he was so happy with what we've done, and that's the thing that really means the world to me, is the fact that we've been able to release it at least, and it's out there, you know, no matter how many people listen to it, although Andy wanted as many people to listen to it as possible because it did mean so much to him, and he was so happy making it. You know, it was a 7-year project, and unfortunately unfortunately for 5 of those years he was you know, having to deal with his illness. But the kind of thing was, we were about to go on tour like 3 or 4 times, and we had to cancel the tours. So I think that helped with the recording process and the sound of the album, because we weren't distracted by playing shows. That we played 2 shows while he was part of Blitz Vega, and the rest of the time it was like, well, you know, I can't go on the road, but I can lock myself in the studio and just throw myself into making music and making this album. And that's what we did. And I think that really, you know, I can genuinely say we put everything in, more so he put everything in, obviously. But we put everything into making this, you know, giving every part of yourself and just being completely honest with yourself, whether it's lyrics, musically, just pouring everything into making this record. So yeah, it's nice when, you know, people of, you know, of your knowledge and experience in music can, you know, also connect to it, because it's sort of, it's you know, it would have meant a lot to him. I know that. So thank you. I really do appreciate that.
What a pleasure, because, you know, I get to let you know now, if you weren't already aware, but Blitz Vega is already on rotation on the station. So, you know, it's like we're doing our part to help, you know, further get it out there for people. You know, there again, though, you guys have got the YouTube channel too. So, I mean, there's that. But, you know, it's like I love being able to be part of any artist's, you know, promotional side of it. Just because I since the day I can, you know, as far back as I can remember, I've loved to promote music. You know, I always love to share music with my friends and other people, you know, it's like, and so I love that part of it. We are looking at, well, I'd like to say we've got a full half hour left. However, I know that's not the case, because it won't be that long, and we'll get, I'll get that. So getting back to the music. So well, once again, so what does 2025 look like for KAV and Blitz Vega so far this year?
Yeah, so finishing this EP that we're releasing at the moment over the next few weeks. I've just been going through these tracks that me and Andy did, and yeah, just getting that finished. And then we were shooting a documentary since the forming of the band, so I'm just sort of getting to editing stage with that, and we're working on that, so that'll be ready in the next few months, so probably be released early next year, and the vinyl comes out at some point this year as well, and hopefully we play some shows. So that's kind of it. We'll see what happens, you know.
Nice. Just out of curiosity, now, you know, because I hear a lot of people talking about it, and I don't know why, but where were you at the point when the pandemic hit and COVID came along and all that? Were you in the States? Were you overseas, or?
Yeah, I was here. We were actually in the studio recording the song "Strong Forever," and from the album, yeah. So me and Andy was here as well, yeah, I remember when the mayor of LA was shutting the city down. Me and my partner, we decided within 24 hours that we should just stick a few clothes in the suitcase and go to England, because just in case, you know, we were going to be away from, because her dad was, you know, had recently passed. Anyway, long story. So we decided to get on a plane and go to England. Andy was actually here in LA, and then we couldn't get back for because you're on like O1 sort of artist visas, you know, and so then we couldn't get back to our apartment for like our apartment stayed as it was for like over 2 years, I think. So then we ended up, yeah. And because you couldn't like Airbnb or like, you know, stick it on whatever to get someone in temporarily, because they had all these rules, and obviously like the landlord didn't want random people coming in and stuff, so it was a whole thing. So so just ended up not being able to get back, and then and in that time period we ended up settling back in England, which is totally not planned. So then I came back, and you know, I've been sort of back and forth, but mainly been back, you know, because you're there for over 2 years. You can't go anywhere. So obviously, you know, I built my studio and set myself, you know, and that's kind of the main home kind of these days. So, but I still seem to be, all the music stuff and the band stuff is all kind of based out here. So, yeah, I'm sort of between both places most of the time.
I can't even imagine. It must be a wild feeling to be, what would that buy? No, that'd be international. Well, I guess international. I don't know. Intercontinental. There we go. Where you just kind of float from one continent to the other. Must, you know, rock star lifestyle is all I have to say.
Well, I think there's quite a lot of British musicians do that. I find, you know, they have a, you know, real kind of connection with the States and the people of the States and the music of the US, and that's something that's been really important to me. And you know, people have been so good to me personally here, you know, wherever I've been, from, you know, all states across the US, and musically, and the support and the radio stations, and just people have really, you know, and the audiences as well. So it's, every time I come back to LA, like it's always like, even though I don't live here anymore, I'm still, you know, in this city a lot, at least, and yeah, it just feels like coming home all the time, because, you know, I'm out in the sticks in England, so I'm out amongst the trees and wildlife, so it's good. It's sort of, it's a nice contrast, you know.
I'll bet.
So,
I'll bet.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the English countryside has got to just be beautiful. I mean, everything that I envision is just, that it's just beautiful back there. So what, and I don't want an address or anything, but what like large metropolitan city are you closest to in the UK?
Oh, London's the largest city. I'm sort of just about 30 miles away from London. So then it's all like little small kind of villages and towns, but it's kind of, you know, just it's where my partner's from, so it's sort of like an area called Surrey, and I've always lived in cities, so it's actually given me a lot of perspective. Lockdown was actually, I know there's a lot of negatives around it, obviously, and we all know that, and a lot of people suffered, but I think musically it locked me away somewhere, put me somewhere which allowed me to focus again on nothing else but writing and expressing myself without the distractions of, you know, the world we live in today where you're expected to be, you know, constantly accessed all the time. And as a writer, I find that really difficult still, you know, to be able to then go, oh, look, I'm in the studio for 3 days, you know, to explain that to people who don't understand that actually when you're going to the studio, you're writing, you need to shut everything else off around you and lose yourself to do it justice. Otherwise, how can you do that work, whatever it is, whether you're an author or a musician or whatever you are, how can you ever do it complete justice to not allow every part of yourself to be lost within it? So that allowed me that process to and I changed a lot of the lyrics actually in that time for a lot of the songs on the album.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel it kind of helped our album.
I love the fact though that you said that about which one was it? Strong Forever though. You know, that I made a note of that. It's so anthemic as far as like I can see. That's the perfect song that I can see that if you were playing it live, that the crowd would be singing along with or back to you. You know, it's just, and so knowing that that came out around that period of time, that totally makes sense because it really is a unifying track, I think, as far as the lyrics go.
Yeah, it's kind of when we play that one live, it just gets you up. You get a kind of, you know, it connects with the audience a lot, and because it is from that time, you know, it's absolutely spot on. It kind of, I suppose, subconsciously you're being influenced by the environment that you find yourself in, and I think a lot of that music did that. There was so much change and so much crazy stuff happening that, you know, the album sort of, the music just absorbed all of that. And I'm going through all the music that we wrote that didn't make it onto the album, and it's funny, all those songs take you back to those moments and those kind of memories, and you know, suddenly you're like, wow, yeah, that did happen, and that's why this happened. So yeah.
No doubt, no doubt. So how many songs are going to be on the EP that'll be coming out?
I think maybe 5, we've got 17 songs that haven't been released, you know, that we wrote. With kind of Andy's bass and stuff on there that are unfinished. Some of them I haven't done the vocals on or played guitar on yet. So I'm just kind of going through that stuff. So it's kind of nice because it's like I'm still working with him, you know, because it's hard getting on stage and playing and looking over and he's not there, you know. That's when it really hits you. But you know, but this is something that everyone goes through in life. You know, you lose friends and family and whatever. That's you know. But I think for me, it has been difficult going on stage without him, even knowing that he wanted us to do it. But going to the studio, it's amazing. Literally 2 weeks ago, and now I'm here till the end of March, and it's sort of, you know, it's always like, even though I don't live here anymore, I'm still you know, in this city a lot, at least, and it just feels like coming home all the time because, you know, I'm out in the sticks in England, so I'm out amongst the trees and wildlife, so it's good. It's sort of, it's a nice contrast, you know.
I'll bet.
Yeah,
I can only imagine the English countryside has got to just be beautiful. I mean, everything that I envision is just, that it's just beautiful back there. So what, and I don't want an address or anything, but what like large metropolitan city are you closest to in the UK?
Oh, London's the largest city. I'm sort of just about 30 miles away from London. So then it's all like little small kind of villages and towns, but it's kind of, you know, just it's where my partner's from, so it's sort of like an area called Surrey, and I've always lived in cities, so it's actually given me a lot of perspective. Lockdown was actually, I know there's a lot of negatives around it, obviously, and we all know that, and a lot of people suffered, but I think musically it locked me away somewhere, put me somewhere which allowed me to focus again on nothing else but writing and expressing myself without the distractions of, you know, the world we live in today where you're expected to be, you know, constantly accessed all the time. And
Yeah.
as a writer, I find that really difficult still, you know, to be able to then go, oh, look, I'm in the studio for 3 days, you know, to explain that to people who don't understand that actually when you're going to the studio, you're writing, you need to shut everything else off around
Right.
you and lose yourself to do it justice. Otherwise, how can you do that work,
Oh, yeah.
whatever it is, whether you're an author or a musician or whatever you are? How can you
Yeah.
ever do it complete justice to not allow every part of yourself to be lost within it? So that allowed me that process to,
Yeah.
and I changed a lot of the lyrics actually in that time for a lot of the
Did
songs
you?
on the album.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So I feel it
Wow.
kind of helped our album.
I love the fact though that you said that about which one was it? Strong Forever though. You know, that I made a note of that. It's so anthemic as far as like I can see. That's the perfect song that I can see that if you were playing it live, that the crowd would be singing along with or back to you. You know, it's just, and so knowing that that came out around that period of time, that totally makes sense because it really is a unifying track, I think, as far as the lyrics go.
Yeah, it's kind of when we play that one live, it just gets you up. You get a kind of, you know, it connects with the audience a lot, and because it is from that time, you know, it's absolutely spot on. It kind of, I suppose, subconsciously you're being influenced by the environment that you find yourself in, and I think a lot of that music did that. There was so much change and so much crazy stuff happening that, you know, the album sort of, the music just absorbed all of that. And I'm going through all the music that we wrote that didn't make it onto the album, and it's funny, all those songs take you back to those moments and those kind of memories, and you know, suddenly you're like, wow, yeah, that did happen, and that's why this happened. So yeah.
No doubt, no doubt. So how many songs are going to be on the EP that'll be coming out?
I think maybe 5, and we've got 17 songs that haven't been released, you know, that we
Nice.
that we wrote, with kind of Andy's bass and stuff on there that are unfinished. Some of them I haven't done the vocals on or played guitar on yet. So I'm just kind of going through that stuff. So it's kind of nice because it's like I'm still working with him, you know, because it's hard getting on stage and playing and looking over and he's not there, you know. That's when it really hits you. But you know, but this is something that everyone goes through in life. You know, you lose friends and family and whatever. That's you know. But I think for me, it has been difficult going on stage without him, even knowing that he wanted us to do it. But going to the studio, hear him, it's amazing. And there's his bass lines, you know, and they're so, you know, it's Andy Rourke, you know, he's genuinely, personally, one of my favorite bassists of all time. Anyway, you know, and obviously,
what a thrill!
Yeah,
well,
so that's special.
You know, the thing is, though, is that yes, I know, like you said, yes, that does happen. You know, people go through it, but this really is a unique situation because of the fact that the band is basically. Now, you said that only twice did Blitz Vega play while Andy was still.
Yeah.
So those two particular crowds, those people that were at those shows, are the only ones that will ever really get to know what it was like when he was, you know, still with us. And so anything, you know, from that point on, but it's a unique situation, but I still am just totally touched and, you know, really moved and kind of blown away that, you know, that it's like he's not, like you said, you can hear him, you can see him. It's like he's still there. You know, his presence is such a formidable part of the band. And it's like, I love that. You know, and there it is. There's that box that tells us we've only got so long. So, like I said a little while ago, the door is always open for you to come back and visit us anytime. But what I would like to do, because I do have a couple of Happy Mondays questions. Can I ask?
Yeah. I mean, I'll try to answer them. You know.
Okay. So, back in, what was it, 89, 90? I don't remember which, and I don't remember what year it was that you hooked up with them.
Yeah, I didn't join them till I started working with Sean Ryder in 2002. So I didn't join the band officially till May 2004.
Right, but it's still being Happy Monday. So because I know that a lot of the old playlists, a lot of the old tracks would be played when you guys performed and stuff. Rope for Luck, one of my absolute favorites. Step On. Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh my gosh, Cav. I've got like chills because it's like Step On by far is one of my absolute favorite songs of all time. And there's just something, it's like, and so knowing that you got a chance to be, part of that and that you are, representative of, if that's the right word, of Happy Mondays. I mean, I'm just blown away. What brought about you getting together with them, joining up with them?
It was the weirdest thing. It was kind of I was running these.
I was on a rooftop.
I was. It was. I was just basically going to meet with Sean Ryder at a club that we were putting on these parties at, and we had people like Tony Wilson and Peter Hook and all these guys from that scene. Where the idea was, back then it was 2003, and the idea was, these guys would come and play their record collections without any limitations, and so it wouldn't be just an indie night or a rock night or whatever. It would be whatever. It was like a back to mind thing. You invite people back to your place and you play your collection, whatever it may be. And so that was the thing. So there were these club events called Get Loaded, and we got offered to take on this music festival called Get Loaded in the Park, on Clapham Common in London. And I was in my early 20s. I'd just barely moved to London, and we couldn't get a headliner because at the time the major industry was sort of not keen on independent new festivals popping out and shaking up the kind of the establishment, I guess. So all the agents and stuff were like, no, we can't book this band or book this band. So then we set up a meeting with Sean, and I pitched him the idea of doing a greatest hits set of the best of Black Grape and the best of Happy Mondays. And then, because we had to sell 20,000 tickets. So I suggested it to him, and Sean was sort of just like, his exact words, well, fuck that. Let's reform Happy Mondays and you're playing guitar. And that was it. So that's how I joined the band. So I went to this meeting with no kind of idea, and then I sort of walked out of that meeting